Zelda La Grange, I want to tell you it's such a privilege and an honor to be here. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for what you've done in the world, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much, Nick, for speaking to me. I'm so honored. You are projecting away from yourself. The honor is all mine.
No, I disagree, but I want to tell you this is going to be a lot of fun. I want to tell our viewers a little bit about your new book, Good Morning, Mr. Mandela. You were a right hand of Mr. Mandela for 19 years. I don't even know first of all where to start and how to even describe the experiences that you had with Mr. Mandela and his legacy and his principles. First of all, how was it waking up knowing that you are right beside one of the greatest men that I believe had ever lived?
Nick, I still have to pinch myself. It's still unbelievable that I had the privilege to work alongside someone like that for 19 years. But it's a chunk of life. We were so consumed with the pressure of the world, with the stress of the surroundings, with the politics that, it's a chunk of your life that's gone almost 19 years. And I try to remember day by day. I try to relive it, because at that speed, you can't really comprehend what you are going through. So it's still very unbelievable. Even now, almost 3 years after his death, it's still unbelievable to me that I had the opportunity to work with him. He was the most amazing human being. He warned us all not to elevate him to sainthood, and he said, I'm a human being with vices and virtues like anyone else. And when people said to him, we think you are a saint, he said, unless you think of a saint as a sinner who keeps on trying. Isn't that beautiful?
That's beautiful.
That summarizes who he really was.
I love it. I'm sure in your book you express more about how his principles and how he lived has really impacted you. We also know he's a man of faith. How did his faith in particularly influence you and his virtues in life?
He was definitely a spiritual person, way above our understanding. I think if you are imprisoned for so many years, you have time to reflect, something that we don't have. It's a luxury these days, and it's something that he had. So he had this very deep spiritual understanding of life, and the meaning of life. It changed my world completely, just meeting him. Growing up in South Africa, in apartheid South Africa, where we lived by segregation, where racism became a law. You as Afrikaners supporting the apartheid regime, by default we became racist, and I had to unlearn all that behavior over the years, the way of thinking and so on. And the one lesson I take from Mr. Mandela, and I think about it every single day still, is that he always managed to connect to humanity above ideology. Connect with a human being, and I explain to people it's like an onion of which you remove all the layers. Your appearance, your religion, your belief system, your wealth, your status, whatever, just remove all of that and connect to the human being. And that was his greatness for me, that the fact that he could connect to humanity, the human side of a person above ideology.
I'm sure you have shared a lot of experiences in the book, but any humorous experience that you can tell us of maybe something that you'll never forget with your interaction with
Well,
Mr.
definitely
Mandela?
the first thing that comes to mind, because people love me telling the story, is when he visited Queen Elizabeth in Buckingham Palace. After his retirement, so after 1999, and when you get to Buckingham Palace, there's all this stately atmosphere and so on. So the red carpet was laid out for him, and he walked, and I knew him well enough to see when there was 1,000 devils in his eyes, playing around with sinister. He was trying to come up with something to say. And as we approached the Queen, she was at the end of the red carpet. He looked at her and he said, "Elizabeth, you've lost weight."
No.
And of course, I promise you. And the Queen burst out laughing, and she couldn't contain her emotions, and she burst out laughing. And after the visit, Mr. Mandela's wife, Mrs. Machel, she said to him, we called Mr. Mandela Madiba. It was an affectionate way of referring to him. So she said, Madiba, you can't speak to the Queen like that. You can't call her Elizabeth. He said, Why not? She calls me Nelson.
love it.
You know, that there's a lot of stories like that in my book, you know, about the human being, and also you know, the struggles of being in that kind of office. I believe that he was imprisoned for 27 years, and then, you know, as life progressed, he was freed, but he became a prisoner again. He became busier than ever when he became president, and even after that, the world wanted his attention. So he was a prisoner once again. And I think we take things for granted. We take advantage of the fact that we have the freedom, the luxury of freedom. It doesn't come easy.
So in today's society, we all know where the world is on many levels, and a little bit of instability, uncertainty on many levels. And it's a complex world that we live in. Yet there are some simple principles that he lived by. What are some of those key principles that nations should be reminded of, the way that he lived and what you learned from him?
I think his character for me, first of all, I can't profess myself as an expert on his legacy or on his character, but I can share my experiences, which is what I do in my book. But his character was built on a few pillars, and the first is this thing of respect, being able to respect people. He said to me once, the way you approach a person will determine how that person treats you. And we know that, you know, it's common sense almost, in a way, that if you approach someone with hostility, that's what you're going to get in return. And he had the ability to even approach the enemy with respect. And that's what made him such a successful negotiator. The second thing he said was, never allow the enemy to determine the grounds for battle. So by respecting them, you neutralize a courtroom or a negotiation room. You neutralize it because you don't allow the enemy to determine the grounds for battle. You set the tone of one of respect, of mutual respect, regardless of the ideology and so on. And then the last thing, the second last thing was, it's easier to change others than it is to change yourself. Again, it's something we all know. And I saw a man waking up every morning. Of the 19 years I worked for him, probably 16 years of the 19 years, I saw him believing every single morning that if I just touch one life, I can change the world. And what did he do? He did exactly that. So it's that individual interactions with people, but also realizing that I need to change myself first before I can influence anyone else. And he managed to do that. He was released, and there was no resentment after 27 years. And that takes courage. It takes self-respect, and he was able to do that. And the last thing he said was, for what that's important for me is, you never, if you question a person's integrity without valid reason, it could well be a reflection of your own integrity. So, you know, it's all of these things. If you combine that, and you approach a person, or you meet someone for the first time, you know, it needs to be with trust and respect, and irrespective of what that person has done or achieved or failed in. If we can do that, I'm sure we can make the world a better place, and we can honor Nelson Mandela's legacy.
Wow. And how is Zelda doing today? You now are a speaker, an international best-selling author. I know you have a burden for your country, South Africa, and the 14 million children especially who don't have the daily basics today. What is your goal for this next season of life?
I must be honest with you, Nick. I am very concerned, as I said earlier to you earlier, I'm very concerned about the pace of progress that's been made in South Africa. There's a lot of frustration amongst young people. We've got a education system, the tertiary education system, that's not serving the masses. So we have a lot of protests going on at the moment, and also incidents turning into anarchy, really. So I'm very scared that people will destroy what people like Nelson Mandela sacrificed their lives for. We are not dealing with poverty in South Africa fast enough. Job creation. And as I said to you, 14 million out of 55 million people, 14 million go to bed every night with severe hunger. How is that possible in 2016? And we fight, civil society. We've got a very strong voice with civil society in South Africa, and we try and address these issues. But Mr. Mandela always said that education is the most powerful and the only weapon with which you can change the world. And education is the only way out of that poverty. But somehow, it's not getting to the masses. The education system doesn't roll out properly. Early childhood development is my personal, it's a passion to me. And going forward, I'm still full-time busy with the publicity of the book, and there's just been the movie rights have been acquired. So after that, I'll really want to focus on early childhood development and see what difference I can make. Even if it's just one person, as I said to you earlier, then I've done my duty.
Amazing. For me, just being in your presence and knowing that there is so much that you carry within your soul, within your spirit, for the good of the world. Again, it's an honor to meet you, but I'm gonna flip the coin for anyone watching who has just heard what you just said. How can the average person who's watching help with the struggle of poverty, early childhood development? What can the average person watching do to help society?
I think a good start is you are passionate about education. I think a good start is to look for an organization like yours to support any initiative to do with education, especially then when you speak about Africa and South Africa, because that's my country. Ordinary people around the world, I hope to get crowdfunding going, to try and help us to deal with early childhood development. And if we get that right, then it will have a ripple effect, and you'll see the positive consequences of that in years to come. But that's where we need to start. So look for any kind of organization that supports education in any way, and by doing that, they'll help along the process.
One final difficult question. Out of many people that I've met, I'm sure you have seen the most, way more than me, of first-hand dealings with corruption in government. You very well know firsthand how much aid money has come through some developing countries, and the frustration you must feel seeing that sometimes money's there but it's not distributed, and then obviously still a difficulty in sustainability and something like that. But in regards to corruption, because it's not just in Africa, it's in many countries around the world. I can testify to that.
Yes.
What can you tell us as viewers, as someone from the outside looking in, how can we fix, if we can, one step at a time, the unfortunate cases of corruption in government?
Very, very simple answer. For me personally, it's to change your own behavior first. We get away with, and we excuse, or we explain, we justify unethical behavior to say, well, it's not serious. Downloading stuff illegally on the internet, cracking into codes and buying counterfeit goods, counterfeit movies, whatever. That's all unethical behavior, and I feel that we as society determine what becomes acceptable and what not. And we got to this level of corruption across the world because we in our own individual ways made it acceptable. To me, that's how I see the world. So by changing your own behavior and setting an example, and to be unashamedly ethical, for me, that's the way we're going to change general behavior. It's like fashion. Now I wear something today, you think, oh, she looks a bit like an idiot. And tomorrow my friend wears it, and in a week's time we've got 3 or 4 people, and so it becomes fashionable. And it's the same with behavior. We need to make it unacceptable, regardless of the type, regardless of the size, whether it's state money or private money. We need to make it unacceptable.
Well, thank you. It's very simple, right? But we gotta do it. We gotta try.
Try harder every single day.
Try harder.
And you set the perfect example. Thank you very much, Nick.
Zelda, thank you for your time. All the best with your book. Good morning, Mr. Mandela, and good luck with the movie. Wish you every success. that others may continue to carry on the legacy and the virtues and principles that we've all learned from Mr. Nelson Mandela.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thanks.
All the best.